everyone, and welcome back to another episode of our English Conversation podcast. Today, we're going to talk about one of the most important qualities that successful people share. It isn't talent, it isn't intelligence, it isn't luck. It's discipline. Many people wait until they feel motivated before they start working toward their goals. They believe they'll begin exercising when they feel inspired, study English when they feel excited, or start a business when the perfect moment arrives. But here's the truth. Motivation comes and goes. Some days you'll feel energetic, other days you'll feel tired, distracted, or discouraged. If your success depends only on motivation, you'll make progress only on the days you feel inspired. Discipline is different. Discipline helps you keep moving even when motivation disappears. Today, James and Emily will explore why discipline is the foundation of success, how anyone can develop it, and why small daily actions are often more powerful than occasional bursts of motivation. So grab your notebook, relax, and let's begin.
Hi, Emily. I'm excited about today's topic because I honestly believe discipline has changed my life more than any other skill.
Hi, James. I completely agree. When people look at successful athletes, entrepreneurs, musicians, or language learners, they often see the final result. They see confidence, skill, and achievement, but they don't always see the years of disciplined practice behind those accomplishments.
Exactly. People often say, "You're so lucky," or "You're naturally talented." But success usually isn't built on luck. It's built on thousands of ordinary days when someone chose to keep working, even when it wasn't exciting.
That's such an important point. We often admire the performance, but we forget about the preparation. Every expert was once a beginner who decided not to quit.
Let's start with a simple question. What exactly is discipline?
To me, discipline means doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. It means acting according to your goals instead of acting according to your temporary emotions.
I love that definition because our emotions change every day. Sometimes we feel confident. Sometimes we feel tired. Sometimes we feel motivated. Sometimes we don't.
Exactly. If our actions depend entirely on our emotions, our progress becomes unpredictable. Discipline creates consistency, and consistency creates results.
Many people confuse discipline with punishment or being extremely strict.
Yes, but real discipline isn't about making life miserable. It's about making choices today that create a better future tomorrow. In many ways, discipline is an act of self-respect.
That's a beautiful way to describe it. When I wake up early to study or exercise, I'm not punishing myself. I'm investing in the person I want to become.
Exactly. Every disciplined decision sends a message to yourself. My future is important.
Let's compare motivation and discipline. Why do you think so many people depend on motivation?
Because motivation feels exciting. When we're motivated, difficult tasks seem easier. We feel optimistic, energetic, and ready to take action.
The problem is that motivation doesn't last forever.
Right. Motivation is like the weather. Some days it's bright and sunny, other days it's cloudy and rainy. If you only work when the weather is perfect, you'll lose many opportunities.
Discipline, on the other hand, doesn't ask, "How do I feel today?" It asks, "What needs to be done today?"
Exactly. That's why disciplined people continue making progress while others are waiting for inspiration.
I remember when I started learning English. At first, I was incredibly motivated. I watched videos every day, learned new vocabulary, and practiced speaking.
But eventually, the excitement became normal.
Exactly. There were many days when I didn't feel motivated at all, but because I had built a routine, I kept studying anyway. Looking back, those ordinary days probably mattered more than the exciting ones.
That's a lesson many learners need to hear. Success isn't created by one extraordinary day. It's created by hundreds of ordinary days when you choose not to give up.
Another thing I've noticed is that discipline makes difficult tasks easier over time.
That's because repetition creates habits. At first, waking up early or studying every day may feel difficult, but after weeks or months of consistent practice, those behaviors become part of your normal routine.
So discipline eventually creates habits, and habits reduce the amount of willpower we need.
Exactly. That's why building small daily routines is so powerful.
Let's imagine two people who both want to become fluent in English. One studies only when they feel inspired. The other studies for 30 minutes every day, regardless of how they feel.
After 1 week, there may not be much difference, but after 1 year, the disciplined learner will probably have made much greater progress because consistency always adds up.
That's true not only for learning languages, but also for exercising, saving money, building businesses, and developing any valuable skill.
Absolutely. The principle is universal. Small actions repeated consistently often produce extraordinary long-term results.
Before we finish today's episode, what's one piece of advice you'd give to someone who wants to become more disciplined?
I'd tell them to stop waiting for the perfect moment. Start with one small habit that you can repeat every single day. Success doesn't begin with giant steps. It begins with consistent ones.
I started thinking about something. Many people understand why discipline is important, but they still struggle to build it in their own lives.
That's very true, James. The biggest misunderstanding is that disciplined people always feel motivated. In reality, they often feel the same emotions as everyone else. They simply choose not to let those emotions control their actions.
I think that's an important lesson. People often imagine that successful people wake up every morning excited to work.
Exactly. But even the most successful athletes, writers, entrepreneurs, and language learners have days when they feel tired or distracted. The difference is that they continue anyway.
So, discipline isn't about never feeling lazy.
Not at all. It's about learning to act even when laziness, fear, or doubt appear. Those emotions are normal. The key is deciding that your goals are more important than your temporary feelings.
Let's talk about procrastination because almost everyone struggles with it.
Yes, procrastination is one of the biggest obstacles to success. Many people delay important tasks because they seem difficult, boring, or overwhelming.
I've noticed that the longer I avoid a task, the bigger it seems in my mind.
That's a common experience. Our imagination often makes unfinished tasks look much harder than they really are. But something interesting happens once we finally begin. The task usually feels easier than we expected.
So sometimes the hardest part is simply getting started.
Exactly. That's why many experts recommend focusing on the first small step instead of thinking about the entire project.
Can you give us an example?
Of course. Imagine someone wants to study English for 1 hour every day. That goal may feel intimidating. Instead of saying, I have to study for 60 minutes, they could say, I'll study for just 5 minutes.
That sounds surprisingly simple.
It is simple, but it's powerful. Once you've started, continuing becomes much easier. Beginning creates momentum.
I've experienced that many times. I tell myself I'll read just 1 page, and before I know it, I've read 20 pages.
Exactly. Action creates motivation much more often than motivation creates action.
That's an interesting idea, because most people think motivation comes first.
In reality, taking action often builds motivation. When you see yourself making progress, you naturally feel encouraged to continue.
Another thing that has helped me is creating routines.
Routines reduce the number of decisions you have to make. If you always study English after breakfast or exercise immediately after work, eventually those behaviors become automatic.
So instead of asking yourself every day whether you feel like studying, the routine answers the question for you.
Exactly. Discipline becomes much easier when important habits have a fixed place in your schedule.
Let's talk about distractions because modern life is full of them.
That's very true. Smartphones, social media, endless notifications, and constant entertainment make it difficult to focus. One of the best ways to improve discipline is to design an environment that supports concentration.
What kind of changes would you recommend?
Simple changes can make a big difference. Put your phone in another room while studying. Turn off unnecessary notifications. Keep your workspace clean. Prepare everything you need before you begin working.
That reminds me of something you said earlier. Successful people don't rely only on willpower.
Exactly. They make good choices easier. When your environment supports your goals, you don't have to fight temptation every minute of the day.
Another challenge many people face is perfectionism.
Yes, perfectionism often leads to procrastination. People delay starting because they're afraid their work won't be perfect.
I've definitely experienced that.
The truth is that imperfect action usually creates more progress than perfect planning. You can improve something after you've started, but you can't improve something that doesn't exist.
That's a powerful lesson. Done is often better than perfect.
Absolutely. Progress comes from repeated improvement, not from waiting for perfection.
Let's imagine someone wants to be disciplined, but keeps failing after a few days. What advice would you give?
I'd encourage them to make their goals smaller. If you can't maintain a 1-hour habit, begin with 10 minutes. Success builds confidence, and confidence makes larger goals easier later.
So discipline grows step by step.
Exactly. Just as muscles become stronger through regular exercise, discipline becomes stronger through consistent practice.
One thing I've learned is that every discipline decision makes the next one a little easier.
That's because habits strengthen through repetition. Every time you choose your long-term goal over short-term comfort, you're training your mind to make that choice again.
So discipline isn't one big decision. It's hundreds of small decisions made every day.
Exactly. And those small decisions eventually shape your future.
Now I like to discuss the results. What actually happens when someone becomes disciplined?
That's one of my favorite questions, because the benefits go far beyond achieving goals. Discipline doesn't simply change what you accomplish, it changes who you become.
I love that idea. Success isn't just about earning more money or getting better grades. It's about becoming the kind of person who can consistently overcome challenges.
Exactly. Every time you choose long-term progress over short-term comfort, you're strengthening your character. Over time, those choices shape your identity.
Let's start with learning English, because many of our listeners...
That's a perfect example. Imagine two students. One studies English only when they feel excited. The other studies for 30 minutes every day, even when they're busy or tired.
At first, they may seem very similar.
Yes, but after 6 months or a year, the disciplined learner will usually make much greater progress. That's because language learning rewards consistency much more than intensity.
I've noticed that many people quit because they don't see immediate results.
That's true. Learning a language is like planting a seed. You water it every day. Even though you don't immediately see growth, eventually the results become impossible to ignore.
That lesson applies to almost everything in life.
Absolutely. Think about physical fitness. One workout won't transform your body, but hundreds of workouts completed over months and years can completely change your health.
The same idea applies to saving money.
Exactly. Small amounts saved consistently often grow into significant financial security. It's not always the biggest actions that matter most. It's the actions repeated over time.
I think discipline also changes the way we see ourselves.
It certainly does. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, your self-confidence grows. You begin believing that you are someone who follows through instead of someone who constantly gives up.
That's powerful, because confidence often comes from experience, not positive thinking.
Exactly. Many people wait until they feel confident before taking action, but confidence usually appears after repeated action, not before it.
Another thing I've noticed is that disciplined people seem calmer during difficult situations.
That's because discipline builds emotional stability. When you've developed strong routines, you're less likely to be controlled by temporary emotions. You learn to make decisions based on your values instead of your moods.
So discipline gives you more control over your own life.
Yes, instead of reacting automatically to every feeling, you begin responding thoughtfully. That creates a sense of freedom because you're no longer controlled by every passing emotion.
Let's talk about relationships. Can discipline improve them too?
Absolutely. Healthy relationships require consistency. Being honest, listening carefully, showing kindness, keeping promises, and making time for people you care about are all forms of discipline.
That's interesting, because many people think discipline only applies to work or study.
Not at all. Some of the strongest relationships are built through small, daily acts of care and reliability. Trust grows through consistent actions over time.
What about work and career success?
Employers value people they can depend on. Someone who arrives on time, finishes projects, continues learning, and stays reliable during challenges often earns respect and opportunities for growth.
So discipline becomes a competitive advantage.
Exactly. Talent may open a door, but discipline helps you continue growing long after the excitement of something new has faded.
I remember reading that many successful people follow similar routines every day.
That's true. They understand that routines reduce unnecessary decisions. Instead of asking themselves whether they feel like working, exercising, or studying, they've already made those decisions in advance.
That probably saves a lot of mental energy.
It does. The fewer unnecessary decisions you make, the more energy you have for creative thinking, solving problems, and making important choices.
Let's imagine someone listening today feels discouraged because they've struggled with discipline for years. What would you tell them?
I'd remind them that the past doesn't define the future. Every disciplined person once struggled with consistency. The difference is that they continued practicing instead of giving up.
So it's never too late to begin.
Exactly. You don't need to change your entire life today. You only need to make one good decision, then another tomorrow, and another the next day. Those small decisions eventually become powerful habits.
That reminds me of something we've said throughout this series. Consistency beats perfection.
Absolutely. Missing one day isn't the end. What matters is returning to your routine and continuing to move forward.
And perhaps the most encouraging lesson is this: you don't have to become extraordinary overnight. You simply need to become a little more consistent each day.
Exactly. Great lives are built one disciplined day at a time.
Welcome back, Emily. It's hard to believe we've reached the final part of the series.
I know. We've talked about what discipline is and how to build it. But today I think we'll discuss the most important challenge of all, maintaining discipline over the long term.
Exactly. Starting something is exciting, but continuing after the excitement disappears is where real growth begins.
That's very true. Most people don't fail because they aren't capable. They fail because they expect the journey to stay exciting forever.
That's such an interesting point. We often think successful people enjoy every moment of the process.
In reality, even highly successful people have difficult days. They feel tired, they lose motivation, they face disappointment and unexpected setbacks. The difference is that they don't allow one difficult day to become one difficult month.
I love that idea. One bad day doesn't have to become a bad week.
Exactly. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone misses a workout. Everyone skips a study session. Everyone has days when life becomes overwhelming. The important question isn't, did you make a mistake? The important question is, what will you do next?
So recovery is more important than perfection.
Absolutely. Many people give up because they believe one mistake has ruined everything. But discipline isn't about never falling. It's about standing up every time you fall.
That reminds me of learning English. Sometimes learners miss several days of study. Instead of returning immediately, they think, I've already failed.
Exactly. But imagine brushing your teeth. If you forgot to brush them one night, would you stop brushing forever? Of course not. You would simply continue the next day. Healthy habits should be treated the same way.
That's a wonderful example, because it shows how one missed day doesn't erase months of progress.
Exactly. Consistency isn't destroyed by one mistake. It's destroyed when we decide to quit completely.
Let's talk about identity again, because I think it's one of the most powerful ideas we've discussed.
I agree. Many people focus only on goals. They say, I want to lose weight. I want to become fluent in English. I want to save money. Those are excellent goals. But an even better question is, who do I want to become? So instead of saying, I want to study English, we might say, I am becoming someone who learns every day. Exactly. Identity creates consistency. When disciplined actions become part of who you are, they no longer feel like temporary challenges. They become your lifestyle.
I think another important lesson is learning to enjoy the process.
Absolutely. Many people postpone happiness until they achieve a goal. They say, I'll be happy when I become fluent. I'll be happy when I earn more money. I'll be happy when I become successful. But life doesn't work that way. If you can't enjoy the journey, reaching the destination often won't feel as satisfying as you imagined.
So discipline shouldn't feel like endless suffering.
Not at all. Healthy discipline creates freedom. It gives you more choices, better health, stronger confidence, improved skills, and greater peace of mind.
That's something people often misunderstand. They think discipline limits freedom.
Actually, it's often the opposite. Discipline creates freedom. Financial discipline creates financial security. Health discipline creates physical freedom. Learning discipline creates opportunities. Emotional discipline creates healthier relationships.
That's such a powerful way to think about it. The temporary discomfort of discipline often prevents much greater difficulties later.
Exactly. Small sacrifices today often create enormous rewards tomorrow.
Before we finish the series, I'd love for each of us to share one final message.
I'd say this: don't compare your journey to anyone else's. Social media often shows people's highlights, but hides their years of hard work. Focus on becoming a little better than yesterday. Small improvements may seem invisible today, but over months and years, they create extraordinary results.
And my final message would be this: never underestimate the power of one small decision. Reading one page, learning one new English expression, taking one short walk, saving a small amount of money, choosing healthy food, making one phone call. Those actions may seem insignificant today, but repeated every day, they completely change the direction of your life.
Exactly. Your future isn't built by one extraordinary decision. It's built by thousands of ordinary decisions made consistently.
Looking back at this podcast, I think we've learned something very important. Discipline isn't about forcing yourself to suffer. It's about becoming the kind of person who keeps promises to yourself. It's about creating habits that support your dreams instead of working against them.
I couldn't agree more.
The beautiful thing about discipline is that anyone can develop it. You don't need perfect circumstances. You don't need extraordinary talent. You don't need to wait until Monday, next month, or next year. You can begin today. One small action, one small promise, one small improvement. That's how great lives are built.
Thank you so much for joining us for our 4-part series. Throughout this series, James and Emily explored why discipline is stronger than motivation, how to overcome procrastination, build lasting habits, transform your life, and stay consistent for years. Remember this simple truth. Motivation gets you started. Discipline keeps you going. No matter where you are today, you have the ability to improve. You don't need to become perfect. You only need to become a little better each day. Every small step matters. Every good decision matters. Every day is a new opportunity to become the person you want to be. Thank you for spending your time with us. Keep learning, keep growing, keep believing in yourself. And most importantly, stay disciplined. We'll see you in the next English Conversation podcast. Goodbye, everyone.